who built that page.
Well, I think that's one of the problems with alcohol is that if you came out with alcohol right now, if alcohol wasn't a thing and you like, I've invented this drink that is going to make you like either really happy or really aggressive or really stupid, and we're going to just sell it to the masses, people will be like, nah, mate, keep your funky juice. Like, we don't want that. That sounds terrible. And it's one of those things, because it is so socially acceptable, the addiction side of it, the bad sides of it, really do fly under the radar.
Yeah.
And that's really interesting. I'll tell you something I do love about being a non-drinker. I love being the designated driver.
Yeah.
I love being that person that makes sure that everyone gets home. I don't know, I like being a dependable person. I think I'm quite dependable, and I really like that thing. And I saw this crazy YouTube video once, this was years ago, of a guy that went to a bar, he got drunk, and he drove home, and he crashed his car. And I don't know if this is real, it could have been fake, but it's really impactful. Basically, what his friend had done was set up the room as if he had been in a coma for like 10 years. And his friend wakes up hours after the crash, and his friend is there, and he had all like old makeup on to make him look older. And now I'm thinking about it, there's no way this could have been real, because how would they have been able to pull that off? But he basically is saying to him, like, you've been asleep for 10 years, everyone's missed you, like, we can't believe you're awake, this is amazing. And it shows like how a stupid decision like driving drunk can affect the future of your life. So I do love being the designated driver. That is something I enjoy. Seeing my friends have a good time, being like, don't worry, Tom will take you home.
I used to love being the designated driver until I realized that an ex-girlfriend just had me do that because I was the one who didn't do it. So that wasn't a fun designated driver job. But I've always been that guy since, because I lived as a monk for 3 years.
Yeah, amazing.
And when I came back after that, obviously I never went back to drinking alcohol and everything. And so, but I went back into the workplace, and I remember everyone would always open up to me and give me advice. But it's what you're saying, when someone was drunk, they'd tell me their whole life story.
Yeah.
Next day they'd wake up and go, Jay, you'd actually remember what I said. I'm like, I remember everything. They're like, please don't tell anyone. You know, and I loved that part where I was able to be there for people.
Totally.
Just hear their stories.
100%.
And someone that had context the next day, because if they told someone else who was drunk, you'd both not remember, and then it'd be gone. No, I think the benefits that you just pointed out of good sleep, good health, great mental clarity, they're huge. But there's a couple of things I want to point out for everyone who's listening, just as takeaways, because Tom makes it so seamless when you're talking about it. It's really beautiful as well. But one of the things you mentioned was finding alternatives. And during my monk life, we always talked about how there was something that we called the higher taste. And it was saying you can never give up a lower taste unless you had a higher taste.
Sure.
And so there has to be a switch. There has to be a replacement.
Has to be a replacement, 100%.
And so the fact that you found alternatives, I think that's half the battle.
Sure.
Because most of us are trying to take something out of our lives, and then you're just trying to fill it.
Yeah.
And then you have to go back to what you had before because you're not finding a replacement. So that was beautiful. And the second thing you said, which I loved, which was having this conversation and dialogue with other people. Someone who's 1 year ahead of you, someone who's 10 years ahead, someone who's 20 years ahead, who's gone through that process, and they're open and honest and vulnerable about, you know what, I did have a weak moment, or you know what, this was really tough for me. And I think having those communities where you can talk about these things makes a massive difference. So if anyone's struggling, I hope that those two things can kind of, give you the support you need.
And again, it goes back to the message of the show, is that like you should ask for help, and you should feel empowered to do so.
Yeah.
But tell me about your monk life. Like, that must have been amazing.
It was special.
I've always been so tempted to go away and do one of those retreats where, you go to somewhere like India and you go to those places where you don't speak for a month or something like that. Like, that must have just been the most enlightening experience.
Mate, now that you've said that, when you want to go, I'm going to take you.
Please,
yeah, you let me know when.
Absolutely love to go. I met a guy, I was on holiday earlier this year, and he had just got back from a retreat. He did 2 weeks where he didn't make a sound, and was just explaining to me how eye-opening it was.
Yeah. No, I mean, to me, it was one of the best experiences of my life, because even the stuff that I did then, I was 22 years old when I did it. Even the stuff that I did then, I don't even know if I'd be able to do it anymore now, but there was such a energy you had as a 22-year-old where it's just open to any experience and wanting to try it all out.
Amazing.
And I think for me it was because, and it comes back to the people that have done things. When I was 18 was when I first met a monk. I never really knew what monks did or any of their practices, but I met a monk who I write about in my book who just blew my mind, because he was the first person I met that I felt was at ease with himself. And when I was 18, I'd met people who were rich and famous and, beautiful and powerful and all this type of stuff. But I don't think I'd met anyone who was truly happy and content with themselves. Not happy like, oh, I'm so happy, life's amazing.
Right.
I mean more like happy with who
at peace with who they are.
With who they were.
Yeah, totally.
And for some reason at 18, that kind of like was an arrow straight to my heart where I was like, that's real. Like I want that. And it's so hard to explain because everyone's like, well, how did you know that at 18? And I was like, I don't know. It must have been how powerful he was. It's kind of like you wake up when the sun's out and the light's out and you just wake up because you feel that energy. And I felt it through him. And then I went to university and I'd talk to him and I'd meet him in the summers and Christmases. But I just decided, I was like, I want to do this because I'd met someone who I felt had emotional and mental mastery in a way that I'd never seen before.
Wow.
And so when I went out there, and whether it was the meditation training or whether it was the simplicity training of the lifestyle or whether it was the teachings and the values that you had to live by, I got so much from it that I honestly believe that anything that I'm good at doing today is because of what I learned during that time.
Yeah,
and so anything I'm good at today is because of that.
Do you think that you found what he had?
Yeah, I believe so. And I would say that...
Or has. He's still with us.
He's still right, yeah, and I still see him every year.
Amazing.
And he still has it. It's like swag. Like it doesn't go away. Yeah. He still has it. And yeah, definitely. I got a glimpse into it. Obviously, he's been doing it for, nearly 30 years. And I only did it for 3. But you still get a glimpse of it and you get an experience of it. So you know that it exists.
Right.
And I think that's half the battle too. Like even with your sobriety, it's like, you just need to know it exists.
Totally.
And then you're like, wow, there's this other side.
100%.
And even though it's a challenge and even though I'm still trying to be more mindful every day and I'm still working on myself because it's...
Of course. It's an endless,
it's endless.
Ongoing thing.
Yeah, I know. And I take a lot of friends and people I know on retreats there because just a couple of years ago, I took someone that I love to one of the caves in Rishikesh. So one of the things I love about caves is that they're equally dark and silent.
Yeah.
So it's almost like the first time, like we could be silent in this room and it would be silent, but the silence of a cave is just
different level, yeah.
And so when you go in there, you can't see anything either. So you can't even see yourself.
So you're so deep into the cave that there's no light from the mouth of the cave
There's no light from the mouth of the cave.
Oh, I don't know about that, mate. That would really stress me out.
No, you hold hands. No, you don't hold hands. But it's one of those experiences that you actually get to experience real stillness and real silence and real disconnection from everything around you. And then you can actually listen to yourself.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah.
I would love to do something like that. Something that I find myself doing a lot is if I see a beautiful landscape or something, I will try and see if I can find an angle of it where there's nothing man-made in the view. Because you know what it's like you see a beautiful hill or something and there's a telephone pole in the middle of it or a lamppost or something. So doing something like that where there is nothing but just Mother Nature and the silence and being with yourself. I'm obsessed with nature. It's like one of my biggest passions. I'm absolutely like, this new Our Planet show has just come out. One sitting, I've done the whole thing. So I would love to do something like that. So next time you go in, let me know. I'll come with you.
Yeah, we'll figure it out. No, where's a place? I love nature too. I just took me and my wife just went to Bali.
Oh, I love Bali.
Yeah, and it was unbelievable. We went whitewater rafting and it almost felt like Jurassic